is a Bramble Jam podcast. Hi, I'm Bran, and I love Hallmark movies.
I'm Dan, and I despise Hallmark movies.
And hi, I'm Andrea Brooks, and I'm falling somewhere in between.
And this is the Deck the Hallmark podcast. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You bet it.
You bet it, pal.
You bet it.
You bet it.
I got to be honest. This is my first intro ever where I've heard the star say that she's somewhere in between love and despise Hallmark movies, and I feel
their
like
employer.
we need to. Yeah. I'm kind of iffy on the people that write me checks. So I need to hear more, and I know we have a routine.
No. Hey, listen.
But can we just throw
If I had
the
a piece
book
of
out?
paper,
just you know how much prep we do on this show. Now you're just damaging things. You know how much prep we do around here, Brand.
Yeah,
but I need to know, what do you mean, Andrea? How do you feel about Hallmark movies, though?
Oh my goodness, I love this question, and I probably shouldn't have said that in hindsight. No. I feel okay. I started acting when I was 15, and I got into the business, and I wanted to be. This is going to sound so silly. Angelina Jolie, Girl Interrupted, broody teen actor.
Indie film, award-winning. Yes.
Sundance. I thought I would do that. I didn't. But you know what? I think if I'm asking my younger self, I wouldn't believe that I would be working on the projects that I work on now for that reason, because I was a little bit of a angsty teen. But I have actually come full circle, and I adore this content now. But this is coming from a person who back in the day wanted to be something edgy and wasn't.
Yeah.
But no, I've come full circle, and especially I'll say with the pandemic, I've always loved, once I got involved on When Calls the Heart, and I became a part of this world, I kind of became obsessed with it. But the pandemic's really proven to so many of us that this content is so popular. And I love making uplifting, happy, easy content. If for the reason, when you're an actor, you show up on a set where you have to cry and shoot guns and there's blood it's exhausting. It is the most exhausting work. You go home mentally drained. When you make happy content, you fall in love, you come home really happy. And that's the takeaway. That's the difference.
Yeah, nice and positive.
And you seem like a happy, upbeat person, and so the brooding, I feel like it would just be exhausting.
Did you have a goth phase? What are we talking
about?
What
were you listening to?
Yes, I did.
Did you have
Not
Evanescence?
Evanescence
on the.
Loved Evanescence.
Oh yeah.
Loved Evanescence. I went through a phase, 9 Inch Nails. I've never admitted this in an
Trent
interview.
Reznor. Yeah, let's do
Reznor.
it.
He's also so brilliant. Oh my gosh. His scoring is out of this world.
The score in Social Network, forget it.
I agree.
Uncanny. It's so
uncanny.
Good.
Yeah, unbelievable. And I loved what he did with Halsey recently. So I still feel like I have a bit of a teen broody side to me.
This is actually a clip of Andrea and I's film score podcast that we're doing, that we're announcing today.
Wow.
I would 100% join you. I used to go to the record store, CD store, and buy all the CDs from all the movies that I liked. And I had everything. I loved the Pride and Prejudice soundtrack. James Horner's Titanic. I don't know. I went through some phases.
Yeah, you did. You lived the life.
My 4-year-old son is obsessed with scores, like superhero scores. That's all he'll listen to. So it's a very fascinating thing. I try to get him to listen to fun stuff, and he's like, "No, turn on the new Spider-Man soundtrack." I'm like, "Shove off, kid. You don't even know who Spider-Man is. You don't even know. You haven't seen it."
Genius.
Well, my kid likes to listen to just the musical numbers from the movies they watch, and they imagine the movie being played. Yeah, that's a thing.
And Evanescence.
Yeah, of course, Evanescence.
But,
yes,
let's bring back Evanescence.
Yeah,
Dan and I.
A Hallmark movie about Evanescence.
I don't know how it would work, but I'm here for it.
It's it's called "Wake Me Up Inside a Snow Globe."
The one thing I know about Evanescence,
My Immortal Noel. That's all I've got. That's all I've got.
That's not bad. That's not bad. The one thing I know about Evanescence is growing up in a Christian home, Evanescence was okay.
That's right.
Until the guitar player said they're not an effing Christian band.
That's right.
And then my parents were like, "No, go." That was
really?
They did like their first big hit, "Wake Me Up," had a cameo. What is it called? A featuring whatever of a guy in a band called 12 Stones that was a Christian band. Right. So everyone assumed they were a Christian band.
That's right.
And then the guitar player was like, "We're not."
It was a big ordeal.
It was a big ordeal.
It was a big breakaway.
Right. Yeah,
wow.
That's exactly right. And Dan and I once went to Costa Rica and we stayed in a house, and we went to lay down at bed at night, and plastered all over the wall was Evanescence posters and Twilight posters.
And this was in 2013.
This is 2013.
That's right.
2013, Evanescence was apparently huge in Costa Rica. Big so that's
time.
Good.
Really?
The Costa Rican teams loved it.
That's right. We've talked a little bit about your childhood, but let's go back to when you first realized that you liked acting or wanted to try acting. What was the thing that got you into it, and how did you realize that you kind of wanted to continue to pursue it?
Oof, good question. I think I always was interested in acting. I remember watching Sesame Street and telling my parents I wanted to be the kid on TV. I don't think I even knew what that meant. I don't think I understood that there was performance involved. I liked puppets. I loved Jim Henson. I loved TV shows. I loved sing-along VHS tapes. And when the theme song would play at the end, I would cry because it was over. So I always just wanted to be a part of movies and TV, even before I even understood exactly what that meant. And I started working professionally when I was 15, and I was actually a competitive figure skater, and there was an open casting call for a Disney movie. So I begged my mom to drive me to the city. She reluctantly agreed, and went to a cattle call with every figure skater in the entire province, most likely. Waited, I think, 2 hours to go in, and then it went well. They called me back, and then they called me back again, and they called me back again, and then I was in contention for the role, and then I had to get an agent in case we had to negotiate. I didn't end up getting it, but the role. But then in the end, ended up with an agent who was like, "Well, do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah."
So
you were a competitive figure skater?
Yeah, it was hard to listen after that. Are you from Canada?
Yes. Yes,
so that's more normal then.
It is normal.
Here in South Carolina, you wear shirts that say that. Like you want everyone to know. But in Canada,
like I make jokes about like triple sow cows and toe loops and stuff. Like I don't know. Like
triple sow cows are impressive. Yeah.
How long were you doing? Like how long did you have to do it before you could say I competitively do this?
You can start pretty young. Really? People get competitive in the sport, especially now when you watch the Olympics. It's all 14-year-olds. It's crazy. It's wild. But yeah, you become competitive quite young, and I missed a lot of school to compete. I would train. It wasn't uncommon to get up before school 3 times a week. You'd wake up at 5 and then go spend the whole morning at the rink and then go to school and then go back after school. So there was a lot of discipline involved, and that was my life. That was my mom's life too. She was a figure skating coach, and then she was president of my figure skating club, and that was my existence.
So I was going to ask if your parents were supportive of the acting thing, driving kids around to auditions. That's not something every parent's like, big on, but it sounds like from the figure skating side of things, this would not have seemed super uncommon.
Yeah, it wasn't super uncommon. I don't think my mom was thrilled about it. At first, she didn't know anything about the industry. Nobody in my family had ever acted before. And in her mind, she was like, "You're such a busy kid." Because I was in a little theater troupe, and I was figure skating, and I was dancing, and I was busy. So she was like, "How on earth are you going to hit auditions? And are you expecting me to drive you?" The answer was yes, please. So yeah, she had to make some sacrifices, and I had to hit auditions. I missed a lot of school. And the first day I was able to drive on my own with my own license, she was off the clock. She wanted me to get that license more than anything, so I could take myself to my audition.
I got to be honest, and I know we're jumping all around at this point, but Andrea, I've seen every Hallmark Christmas movie since 2018. There are so many bad ice skaters out there that are actors that they can't do it, and we get this close up, this mid shot, and then the shot of the feet. How have we not gotten Andrea Brooks as the lead in a Hallmark Christmas movie where you get to skate? How is that? I'm not trying to be your agent, Andrea. I'm just saying this doesn't seem right. Like you could just do that in your sleep, right?
You're right. You know what? I'm not I haven't done my jumps in years, so I'm sure that I would need some help in that department. But yeah, am I comfortable on skates? Absolutely. I was skating by the age of 3 years old. I was skating.
But
yeah,
just the classic like scene at a skating rink, you know, and having to skate and like fall in love at the same time, like. Why have we not done this? We watch so many of these movies where the skating scenes are terrible. We got Andrea Brooks over here that can just do it.
It's really hard to match skating. And I remember watching skating because I loved The Cutting Edge growing up. That was one of my favorite movies.
That's wheelhouse for me.
The
Andrea's in between. You're in between my age and Brand's age. That's how old you are. So that's like wheelhouse culturally. Like we're in the same boat, Andrea. I like it.
Yes, it's brilliant movie. I actually think the doubling in that movie was, if I remember correctly, somewhat decent. But yeah, bad doubling. It's hard to double figure skating. It's really, really, really tough. So I'm with you. When you're in close, and then it's hard to look like. Usually, you're breathing very heavily if you're doing this, and you cut in, and people are smiling nice. You know, it's tough. It's a tough sport to double.
So you do some auditions early on. You always want to know you want to be on TV. You got the skating going on. In college, when was it that you were like, hey, either like, I want to pursue this full time? Did you go to did you talk your parents to letting you go to like a theater school, or is it something you minored in? Or did you just say, I'm going to start taking auditions and get an agent?
Started taking auditions. I learned the hard way. My mom, I did a couple of teen training courses, on camera training. To be honest, I didn't find them super helpful. I learn on the go, on the fly. And so I hit so many auditions as a kid. I auditioned for every type of role, and I made so many mistakes, but I'm thankful I made those mistakes as a teenager. So by the time I was moved out, I could support myself. I had made enough mistakes to learn from. And then I've been acting, but it's the only job I've really had.
What's the job you got that you said, okay, this is it. I'm a professional actor.
What's the job? I don't know, probably right away. I was so excited. I think one of my first, I did this commercial when I was 15 or 16 for, there's a theme park that opens every summer in Vancouver called Playland. And I was in this commercial where I rode the roller coaster with this other teen boy. And then we went on the merry-go-round. And then as we went, I don't understand this commercial, by the way. As we went on each ride, our faces got jumbled. So our eye would end up here and our mouth ended up here. I don't get it, but it played for years. Every summer, it's like Playland is opening, and then there's these teens with
Playland for you.
It's classic Playland.
Classic Playland.
What if we advertised that if you ride a roller coaster, your eye could be misplaced?
Yeah, who would want to miss that? What an opportunity! And then at the end, they had to put, and this was early 2000s. So Greene, we didn't have the technology that we have today. So I remember having to stand in front of a green screen for, I feel like, an hour. And they wanted me to raise a drink up to my forehead where my mouth would be to sip out of, and then put it back down. And so I just had to do this action for an hour. And I guess they cut and paste my face and rearranged it, and, Playland.
That's good stuff. That's good.
Anyway, I'm sure if you asked me on that day, I would have said, yes, I'm a professional actor. I'm advertising for Playland.
Your first thing on IMDb is a movie called Split Decision, where you play hot senior. So first of all, congratulations.
It's a big role there.
Congratulations for it. But then you start doing, you're doing a TV series, a TV movie, you're doing stuff like, it seems like you're hustling, you're doing it. This was without school. You have an agent. So those early years where you're doing a lot of auditions and you're getting things like hot senior, like what was that like? Was it an exciting time? Was it discouraging at times? Like what was going through your mind early on while you're trying to book stuff?
I think anytime I booked something, I was excited, no matter what it was. And I remember having a conversation with my agent. I did a number of those little walk-on roles, the hot senior roles. And then you hit a point where your agent will sit you down and be like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. Because if you keep doing these little walk-on roles, that you could end up in that wheelhouse, and that might be all you ever get.
You don't want to be typecasted as hot senior.
As a hot senior. No. So I remember when he had that conversation with me, I was I was kind of like, oh, but I get paid all this money to show up for 2 days of shooting or what have you. So in my mind, I was thinking, when you're 17, like, wow, a day on set can be very lucrative when you're living at home and you have no expenses.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of make decisions, and you have to learn when to say no. And I had good experiences. I had bad experiences. I saw a lot of bad behavior on set. I kind of learned what I didn't want to be if I ever had the chance to book a bigger role. And it was just so much trial and error. And I don't know. I just kept going. And I think I also thoroughly like auditioning. I know that might be.
Do you have a memorably bad audition where you were like, oh my goodness, what just happened to me?
Yes, I have a few. Well, I don't even, okay. Yeah. I was auditioning for, I think it was a TV series, and they were casting, I was maybe 20, maybe I was 19. They were casting a bunch of teen girl roles, and it was standard. I think there were 3 scenes, and it was a director producer session. And it takes 10 minutes. Each girl was in there for 10 minutes or so. And I went in, and I don't think I did a great job, but I don't remember really screwing up. And I read my first scene. The director looks at me and he's like, "Thank you, Andrea. I think we understand what you can do."
Oh my.
And I remember looking at the casting director, and she was like, "I'm sorry." And then I walked out, and I was in there for 2 minutes. So all the girls were like, "Oh, what happened?" And I just walked out kind of shell-shocked. I'm like, "Oh, I guess you really didn't like me."
And you didn't get any sort of clarification on that.
No.
Man, that is
but
brutal.
I also, it was brutal. That was one of the ones that really sticks out to me as being like, oh, that was, I learned my lines and I went in. I didn't screw up. If I completely screwed up and was wasting their time, I would understand. But it was just sort of shocking. But I feel like generally I'm pretty good about that stuff. I don't hold on to that. If I did, I'd be in trouble.
As an actor, you got to just keep moving forward.
Yeah, and whatever. You can't. You're not always going to be everybody's cup of tea, and I'm cool with that. But that was a surprise. That was one of the shocking auditions that sticks out in my memory.
I never do this. What was it like working with question? But you were in, and I've not seen this movie. You were in The Company You Keep.
Yeah.
And that has Stanley Tucci and Robert Redford in it.
Yes.
Did you get to and Britt Marling, who is wonderful.
Yes.
Did you get to act opposite any of those 3? And what was that experience like?
The Company You Keep, it was a small role. I think I was on set for 2 days, and I played Susan Sarandon's daughter.
Oh my gosh.
Which is crazy because I am the biggest fan of Susan Sarandon.
I just read the first 3 cast members. I didn't even know Sarandon was in it.
That was a crazy movie. And Robert Redford was directing.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, that was one of those surreal moments. And he was like, call me Bob. And
goodness.
He's just such a legend. We were shooting on film, which was pretty rare at that point because people had already really switched over. And I remember at one point we were shooting a scene, and then Bob just took off and went to the bathroom, didn't tell anybody. And everyone's like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? What's wrong? Did something happen? And he just comes out, and he's just so chill and wonderful. And he had such amazing direction. I think he told me to do something, and he's like, because you know what? That's like life. I don't know. It was a small role, but it was insane getting to work with Susan and Robert Redford. Weird, crazy. One of those crazy moments in life where you're like, where am I? What is happening?
That's legend stuff there. That's unbelievable.
You mentioned that you like auditioning, which is rare. Like, I feel like a lot of people are trying to do, they do auditions for a season and like, I just can't do this anymore. And obviously you're trying to get a job that allows you not to have to audition. Like, that's the goal. Yes. But what is it about auditioning that you actually like? Is it the anticipation of, did I get it? Did I not? Is it the prep work that's just fun as an actor? What is it for you?
I don't think I love the prep. I think I try to look at everything glass half full in this business, because if you don't, you can spiral pretty quickly. But I like looking at each role as just an opportunity to experiment, to try something, to play a role a way that maybe you wouldn't typically do. I don't know. I find it exciting, and I also try to really just trash it at the end. I go in, I try something. If it doesn't work, that's okay, and then it's done. It's out of my brain, and it's just an exercise. It keeps you like, I feel like when I'm not auditioning, I get a little bit stale, a little bit stagnant. It's kind of fun to be like, okay, I got this. I'm going to get right to this. I'm going to shoot this today. I'm going to memorize these. Got it. Let's go. Let's go. So there's that hustle aspect that I think I really like. But you can also burn out, because I auditioned for years. And when I was younger, I would have sometimes 5-6 auditions a week. So wow. it's a weird lifestyle, but you have to try to find ways to thrive off of it, because if you don't find something you enjoy about auditioning, you're going to have a really hard time as an actor.
Yeah. Is there a type of role that you either haven't gotten to do at all, or maybe you got to experiment with a little bit that you hope that you get to do more of in the future?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my Angelina Jolie Girl Interrupted moment. I don't know why that hasn't happened yet. I'm kidding.
I mean, come on.
Is there a role? No, I don't know. I don't think about that stuff too much, because the things that come your way, they come your way, and you can say yes or no. But I don't know. I'm grateful for anything. I genuinely just love working. I love being on set. I love working with other creative people. I love the collaboration. And I'm just thankful to work, to do anything. I'll play a monster. I'll play anything. Usually that's not what they ask me to do, but I just love this business.
Do you know a single Canadian that has not appeared on Supernatural, the television show?
Very few.
I have a question, and I want to see if you remember. You play the following roles on Supernatural: Maria, Galandria the Wicked, and Katie Burns.
Yeah.
Is that one person, or did you come back as a different character later on?
I came back as a different character, because after 5 seasons, you were permitted to come back as someone else.
I love it. Did you wear a wig, or you just came back and it was just
they ran out of Canadians, so they just had to start recycling us.
The Canadian actors.
I want to know how they came up with the 5-year rule. They were like, guys, we can't keep doing this. Like, we got to do like a 5-year rule, and then we can. Like, something has to be done. We're running out of people.
Yeah. Running out of Canadians.
It's like 1,000 episodes of television. What are you doing?
Know. I know. I didn't wear a wig. I just came back as somebody else. No big. I think I got murdered. That's it. I got murdered I was in high school when I did my first episode of Supernatural. I got murdered, and then came back 5 years later as a LARPer.
Nice.
As one does.
As you do. Yeah, of course.
What was the LARP name? What was the
Galandria.
name?
Galandria the Wicked. That's right.
And I wore armor. And I remember I booked this role, and I didn't bother to Google what a LARPer was, which I really should have done. So I went into the audition. I think I wore all black, because I was like, oh, I'm like a computer nerd. And I remember when I got the role, and then I went in for my fitting, and they were fitting me for armor. And I remember going, why? Like, did I miss something? Did they make a mistake? I'm a tech girl. And then I went home and I looked it up. I'm like, oh, LARPing. I don't know what this is. So I had to brush up.
Yeah.
I love that you auditioned for a role that you didn't know what it was, and you got it.
And you got it. That's fantastic.
Boss move.
That is a boss move.
Probably not very professional, but.
Oh, get out of here. How do we get to Hallmark? What is the thing that gets you into the Crown Media world?
Trying to remember if When Calls the Heart. No, When Calls the Heart wasn't first. I did some of their movies, and there was a 2-part series on Hallmark called The Bridge. Okay. Did I work on that before? No, maybe I'm honestly forgetting. I must have done some movies first. And
The Bridge in 2015 is the first Hallmark credit that I have on IMDb.
Okay, so then The Bridge would have been first. So I wonder if maybe I shot the first part of that mini series, and then I did season 2 of When Calls the Heart, and then I did the second part that summer. Probably something like that. So The Bridge would have been one of the first credits. And in Vancouver, it's a service industry up here in a lot of ways. So whatever big American projects are coming up, that tends to be what Canadians are cast in. And we had been through such a sci-fi era up here. Like X-Files was up here. There were a lot of shows like that back in the day in the 90s. And then early 2000s, I was auditioning and acting a bunch. And I did a lot of disaster movies when I was a late teen, early 20s. So that was big. And then Hallmark kind of came in and it was like, oh, it's, feel good, happy family content, which I'm all about, by the way. Before I had my teen broody time as a teenager, I loved Dr. Quinn. I loved Little House on the Prairie. So there's something about that was kind of cool. Of course, it wasn't the Angelina Jolie Girl Interrupted moment that I was waiting for. Still waiting for. But it was content. They were hiring Canadians. There was a lot of great opportunity for bigger roles for Canadians, and Mike Roll directed me in The Bridge, who has gone on to direct episodes of One Calls the Heart, and he's fabulous. And I just quickly found that Hallmark was pretty good at picking really nice people. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just happier people gravitate towards that content or what it is, but right away I kind of discovered, oh, everyone in these projects is really, really nice. And I fell into it that way. It was just what I was auditioning for. Hallmark movies. Of course, One Calls the Heart happened, and that took off. That was its own beast that was completely unexpected. And then I don't know. It's the familiar faces. They kind of keep you kicking around, and I'm so thankful. I really, really like doing it.
So, in the time that you've been on When Calls the Heart, you also were in 46 episodes of Supergirl.
Yes.
So, yeah. And you did 64 episodes of When Calls the Heart. That's a lot. That's 110 episodes of television in 6 years. I mean, how do you coordinate those schedules?
Not well. Not well. To be perfectly honest, there were a lot of fights between my agent and coordinators, and there were, oh my goodness, I spent so many years going back and forth. I'd be wiping off my Eve Tessmacher makeup, going to When Calls the Heart, missing my first scene. It was a nightmare.
Did you ever film both shows in one day?
Oh yeah. Man, too many times, actually. Which you're not supposed to do when you're booked on a day. Your day is devoted to that show. So I feel like I angered people and I tiptoed in. I'm like, I'm sorry. That was me for a number of years.
Wow.
But it changed because my first position would change as well, because I was first position at Supergirl, and then I was a regular on Supergirl, and then When Calls the Heart. So it was just a balancing act, and it was just a nightmare. I remember I still have a physical calendar, and I'd split days, and
as you became a regular on both shows, I mean, who'd have that you've got to be that's a great position and a tough position at the same time. You're a regular on two television shows that are both filming in your town. Like, that's crazy.
Yes, it is. It really was wild. There were a wild couple of years there. And I'm so thankful, because it's like you wake up and you get to do what you love doing, but it was stressful. I'm always just watching the clock being like, I have to leave at noon. I have a hard out. I got to go. Or, just spending your weekends trying to catch up, having 2 scripts at once for different shows that were completely different characters too. It was super fun, but it was pretty wild.
How did it happen though? Because somebody had to sign off on this, right? Like one of the networks had to be both, I guess.
My guess would be she started out as a guest recurring in both, and then what happened is they both liked her and then made her, we have a spot for you, this character going somewhere, and they both wanted you, and both of you had signed a contract with both saying that was something you would do, and that's how it happened. That would be right?
Yeah, it's a stroke of luck. This is not a common thing, but that's exactly what happened. I just sort of happened to fall into both shows at a similar time, and the characters leveled up in both situations, and it was always a fight for first position. Whatever show wanted to retain me in first position, they would book me first, and then my schedule would open up and the other show could take me. But then, of course, that doesn't always work perfectly, because what if the other show set their schedule first and they had me pinned on days, and then that show makes the first position show makes last minute changes, and then you're in trouble, and then you're trying to negotiate what to do. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, When Calls the Heart, there were often group scenes that I would just suddenly be missing from, because it was really crazy.
But When Calls the Heart's like 10 episodes, 8, 9, 10 episodes a year. Supergirl's like 20 something.
Yes.
So it's a much longer filming season.
Yes.
Right. So there would not be crossover all the time, but I can't imagine having both shows on the same day. That's wild.
Yeah, and the panicked driving luckily, both of those, the studios were quite close to one another. They're both in Langley, BC. I would often hit traffic on the highway, but you could get from one to the other without traffic in maybe 16 minutes.
That's unbelievable. So did you grow up in British Columbia or are you from somewhere else in Canada?
Born in Ontario, so other side of the country. Grew up mostly in British Columbia, a little bit in Alberta and the prairies. So kind of from all over. But
I'll take your word for it. In my mind, Canada is all just north of like New York. It's just all like right.
You go over Niagara Falls.
And then
that's where everybody lives, and then west of that is all land.
All of them live right there, right on the other side of the falls.
Right at the falls.
And then after that, it's just
land that hasn't been hasn't been discovered yet.
Yeah, they're still working on it.
You have the same thought though, huh?
Yeah. In South, and I teach history, so I have no excuse. In South Carolina, that's pretty much our understanding.
That's really funny.
It is. We're doing the best we can down here with what we have.
You probably know where South Carolina is, don't you?
I do. Yeah. I've never been, but I do know.
Just better than us.
Yeah.
In every way. When you got booked for Faith for When Calls the Heart, what did you know about the character and how she would evolve? Did they have a plan? Sometimes I'm not so sure that there's a plan in place in regards to certain characters. Did they have a plan? Did they have a hope for you when they hired you, or did it kind of develop as you developed and they saw what you could do?
It definitely developed as we went along, 100%. Often they might actually have plans, but they don't always want to tell you either because they don't want to set your expectations super high, or maybe they're unsure. I think quite often they'll bring in characters with an expectation and then sometimes it doesn't work out. So it's just juggling. Television is just a juggling act. They're just trying to keep all the balls in the air at all times. They're always falling down. It can be a bit of a hot mess at times. But when I auditioned for Faith, I had previously auditioned for the roles of Clara and for one of Elizabeth's sisters in season 1. And I came really close actually to booking Julie. And I even remember getting a call about, will you dye your hair tomorrow? And I was like, what? I guess. And then that role went away. And then the Clara audition came up again. So I assumed that they remembered me and they were kind of like, oh, maybe we could fit Andrea in elsewhere. Because that's very common when you audition for shows. They might think you have the right look for that series or the right vibe. I don't know. Auditioned for the next role, didn't get it. Then I was in LA at my friend's house. I got a call to audition for this role at the end of season 2. She was a nurse and I wasn't in town. And then my agent's like, oh, well, you auditioned before. I'm sure they have your other tapes. Do you mind throwing this on tape? This was a while back. This is before self-tapes were as popular as they are now. Of course, that's how we all audition in this virtual age. And I remember I was staying at my friend's apartment in LA. There were no lights because she only lived there part-time. She had no lighting. I only had my laptop. I didn't have a camera with me. Cell phones were atrocious at that time. And she went out to get her hair done. And I was like, okay, send me the sides. And I think I read the lines off my computer. I taped it on my Mac. So the image was inverted.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
And I think I found one little light and I put the lamp next to the computer and I read the lines. And I remember thinking, oh, and I taped my voice on my phone and then played it. So very professional.
Yeah.
Class.
I want to find this audition because I think the performance ultimately, I don't know, I guess it was good enough. I remember thinking I liked the writing a lot. I really loved time period. That was something I really, really, really wanted to do. Probably should have, I was in LA for goodness sakes. I probably could have gone to a studio and shot an awesome audition, but for whatever reason, I did not do that. I sent it to my agent, got a call the next day that I booked it and I had to fly home.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
Bill Abbott got the tape and he was like, I like it, but can we flip her somehow? Can we
flip her?
Is there any way? Can we shoot her in a mirror?
Let me ask you this, Andrea. I don't like When Calls the Heart, but I watch it because it is part of my job. And you come on the scene, and I, much to the chagrin of most people that listen to our podcast, and I think was borderline sacrilegious when I said it out loud, I felt as though the chemistry with Jack and Faith was really, really good. And I was like, this is early on. This is before, Jack and Elizabeth are betrothed, right? This is like early. And I'm like, is this going to be a love triangle? Are we going to pursue this? Because I just thought it was there. Is that just you enlisting just sparks? or is that me making it up? Or did you think there was a possibility that this is where the writers could take the show? Am I just crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy at all.
That's what I'm talking about.
The way that was written, there was a triangle aspect kind of at play. I have told this story recently, and also I loved working with Daniel. We just got along immediately. It's weird how that happens sometimes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you show up and you're like, oh my goodness, we have to kiss, and we've known each other for years, and you're my star-crossed lover, and hi, nice to meet you. My name is Andrea.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can go very well.
And sometimes it can go poorly. Listening is wonderful. We've had him on the show several times. He's great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, really good dude.
Fantastic. And we just hit it off, and sometimes it's performance style. Sometimes your style really jives with someone, and sometimes it really doesn't. And there's no controlling that. And I think we just hit it off. And there was a scene written where we were out to dinner in season 2, and he was thanking me for taking such good care of his brother after the accident. And I was supposed to just rest my hand on his hand. It wasn't malicious. There wasn't ill intent in that hand placement, but it would have stirred the pot. And in hindsight, that would have been way too much for this show. Absolutely.
Oh, man.
And so while we were blocking out the scene, I remember distinctly, Dan was like, ooh, don't put your hand on my hand. And I was like, why not? That's what's written. And he went to the director. He's like, it's too much. They're not going to like it. And it doesn't.
Yeah, you may as well just spend the night with him at the Mercantile.
You might
that's what you may as well do if you're going to do that.
Pretty much pregnant.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. The Hardys would lose their mind.
Yes. And I didn't know that. I didn't know. And in my mind, I was like, well, if we suggest, this would be a suggestion of a triangle if I did this. And I thought maybe there's a possibility that's where they might take it. And he was like, just trust me, don't do it. So we did the scene, didn't do it. And he was so right.
Yeah.
He was so right, because that is not who that character was or is. And it probably would have wrecked everything, to the point where I don't think Faith would have even come back. So
wow.
I don't know. And I just remember thinking in that moment, what is he talking about? Why can I not put a hand? If the writers wrote this and the network approved it, what's wrong with a hand? And a lot is wrong with the hand on this show. If you touch hands, you are basically at the altar.
That's right. Yeah.
It's too much. It's too much.
So your long stint on When Calls the Heart, you can thank listening for catching a hand placement in blocking a scene.
Yep.
Man, there you have it. That's inside baseball.
And that's when he knew he was out.
That's when he knew he was out. Yeah.
He's like, I can't do this nonsense anymore.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can we talk about Paul Greene just briefly? You get to most of your scenes, at least that we see so far, are opposite Paul Greene, friend of the show, Paul Greene.
Love Paul.
Had you known Paul before you started working on the show?
Yes, actually. I did a movie with him directed by Christy Will, and it starred Lacey Chabert, A Wish for Christmas. And we worked on that. Oh my goodness. So he came in season 4, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think I had just finished shooting season 3, and then I did that movie, and I met Paul, and we got along super well. He was super funny. And I remember talking to him and being like, oh, if they ever ask you to be on When Calls the Heart, you absolutely should do it. I think that you'd really like it. And so we were joking about it. And then lo and behold, season 4 rolls around, and who's who's the doctor in town? Paul Greene. So yeah, we had worked together, got along super well, and then he joined the cast.
How about it? Is he as ADD in person, like on set? What I love about interviewing Paul Greene is we don't know.
No. It has to take eternity to shoot a scene with him. There's no quick scenes with Paul Greene.
We don't know from moment to moment where the conversation is going. We literally have talked to him on and off camera for 2 straight hours.
Does he ever pull out his harmonica and just play before shooting with you? Because he does that with us all the time.
That's common, of course.
Yeah,
harmonica. Yeah, he practiced, because there was a scene where my character gave him a harmonica, so he practiced and actually learned how to play it. I think he was pretty good by the end.
Yeah, we just watched that episode. It just happened very recently. Yeah, because I made a comment about how like the one time Paul Greene can't act is when he's acting like he doesn't want to play the harmonica.
He's like, please
don't make me.
I was born to play this.
Yeah, I would never. Funny. Yeah. Is he super like health conscious? Always trying to get you to do his like dumb, like all all the like, don't eat this, eat that instead, and only eat for 2 hours a day. And
let's do this. Let's do some Paul Greene myths. Does he actually wake up in the morning and run into the water first thing in the morning?
I'm sure when he's in LA, I know he lives near the ocean, so I'm sure he does it there. I don't remember him showing up with sea breeze in his hair, at 5 a.m. on One Calls the Heart. Actually, that's not true. In the summers, he was really into playing volleyball on the beach, and he would often come in with sea swept hair. That's true.
Gosh, I just love this guy. He's playing 4 a.m. volleyball. I don't even know what you want from it. Like that is. He just is the next guy for the Dos Equis commercial. Like he's just
hilarious.
Just one of a kind. It's so fantastic.
He would drink a lot of celery juice too.
Yeah. Big breaking
the going.
Breaking the fast with the bone broth, the whole bit. He let me ask you this. I there's so many people on When Calls the Heart. And I know a little bit about movie making magic just from we've been on a set or two in our life. And I know that all those people aren't on there, and that's how they keep the budget what it is we don't ever get a scene with everyone in the show in one scene. Like it happens so very rarely. So like you're on the show.
Well, they would, but she's got to go shoot Supergirl.
Yeah. like you're on the show and you're in typically in a 10 episode season, you'll be in most, if not all of those episodes. How often do you see everyone on set? Do you ever see everyone on set?
Oh yeah. So you guys are in season 6 right now, right?
Yes.
You said you'll see bigger group scenes as the seasons progress. Now it's actually quite normal to have the entire cast.
Wow.
Even this past season, like a lot of the little festivals or Christmas pageants, or I think in season 8 there's like a movie night, and now we're bringing in everybody. I don't know. Budgetarily, I have no idea. I never know what's going on in that department, but you get a lot more of everyone as the seasons progress.
Okay, but early on, like, was it just a thing where everybody had their days of shooting? Because it just seems kind of awkward that it's like, if I know you and Paul are in a scene, Abigail and Bill aren't going to come crashing through the door. Like, correct. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's you're not going to have all 4 of those people in a scene, and it just feels like I'm watching 6 different like mini-sodes. You know what I mean? Because you don't ever get everyone, there's not, and then there's sometimes where you can clearly tell they've recorded shots separately of people talking together because they weren't there. And so I was just curious as if that was like something that was normal on set that you guys had to work around. Like, hey, Jack Wagner's not here this week because he shot his scenes last week. He's in the room. You've got to work. Like, did that happen on the show?
Yeah, especially when Lori was there, she would come in for I want to say it was a week at a time. So you'd only have her.
We heard she got this great deal where she only shot like 10 days a season.
Yes.
Or something.
Yes. Yeah. So she would have days, and everyone would have to kind of come in and shoot their scenes with her that week or for those days. So there was a lot of that. I feel like that's really changed though. In season, I'd say like 7, 8, 9. There's more group scenes, and those little pods that you're talking about, Bill and Abigail being together, they're broken up a little more as you go. So 7, 8, 9, you'll see a bit of a shift, and you're going to see more characters interacting. The town kind of opens up in that way going.
Oh, fantastic. The that's really like encouraging. Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, like
good.
That makes a lot more sense to me as how I would like imagine this town.
And I think when John Tinker came in, that was one of the things he really wanted to work with. He was like, we have this town and all these awesome characters. Let's do a shot where we kind of walk through the town and see everybody. And we started doing that. I guess that was more season 8 that it brings more life to the town. You kind of get the impression that everyone's busy doing their jobs, and you're a part of everybody.
Whereas if there's a scene outside the saloon, I'm just assuming every other store is closed. When I watch it, I'm like, oh, well, the saloon's open, Mercantile's closed.
Yeah, it's got
it's got Abigail's Cafe closed. Like they're all, you know what I mean? And so that makes a lot more. That seems more lively.
Life. I like that. Yeah. You've been on the show now for years. Is it still surprising the response?
Oh my gosh,
from the Hardys when something happens like a decision at the end of last season? Is it still like, to me, as somebody who is only watching the show for the first time, but has followed the social media side of the show since the beginning, it's still, I still don't understand it fully. Like, I don't understand like the anger if one thing happens and this, like, it doesn't make sense to me. What is it like for you on the inside and you're watching these fans? Is it like, this is awesome? Or is it sometimes like, guys, it's just a TV show?
It's just Hope Valley. Like, calm it down a little bit.
Oof. Yeah, that's it's just one of the weird aspects of movie making. You do something, you try your best, maybe you get it right, maybe you don't, and then you have to wait, right? Like, we shoot it and then there's a waiting period and then it comes out 5 months later and then you kind of relive it and you're like, oh, I wonder what they're going to think. I think I understand both sides. I think I understand people who are super passionate, who have found this show and maybe this is a part of their identity, and I like to think it comes from a place of love. They're really invested. They like these characters. They like this show. And that's wonderful. And if things don't go their way, I kind of get it. You know, it's like, if things go sideways in your mind and that's not what you were expecting, okay. And that's fair. Everyone is absolutely always entitled to their opinions, for sure. But yeah, sometimes you read the comments and when they get nasty, that's when I turn off social media. When I start seeing things about people I care so much about, I'm friends with everybody, and yeah, you get the weird hate and you're just like, oh man.
How early in the season, in season 5, did you know Jack was going to die? And then were you prepared for that? Like, the reaction afterwards, like, were you prepared for that? Did they prepare you guys to go, hey, people are going to be pissed off here? Or was this, did it just take everybody by surprise?
We knew that the reaction would be tough. And I think some of us were wondering if this would be the end of the show. So yeah, I remember shooting the funeral specifically of a lot of memories from that day, because it just sort of felt like this was the end of a chapter. And does the show continue from this point on? Are people going to hate us, or what are we doing? And of course, a death like that is not something that Hallmark typically showcases in their movies and in their series. And yeah, it was really, really hard. And it was quite genuinely ominous on set that day. There was a lot of fog and it was just like, ooh, is it done? Is this train ride over?
It's a weird episode of television for a show that is not.
The tone is very different. And I think that was done deliberately because they wanted it to be very final. I don't think they wanted people thinking, oh, maybe he didn't die. Maybe it was just miscommunication, or maybe he'll come back. I think they really just wanted to make that what it was. And it's a tough episode. And then they wanted to try to revive the show and go in another direction and see what happened. So yeah, but even the lighting, the way it was shot, everything about that episode is different. You're right.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to ask this question, but I don't want to get into like a gossip time with the brand. But there's a lot going on right now in the extended universe of the show. What is that like for you that's in Hope Valley, seeing other things happen elsewhere with a show that once was with a certain network and now isn't, and with people that used to be on a certain network but now aren't? Is that weird for you? Is it like, we're excited for them and yay universe?
That's a really good question. I think I'm generally yay universe. I mean, hey, people like this content. It resonates, and that's awesome. And it's super cool to be a part of something like that. But yeah, I remember the day the news broke about that. And we were all working. And everyone was like, did you read the news? Did you read Deadline? Did you read the news? Did you read the news? And it was just like, huh. And I don't know. I think I hope people liked it. I really like all the actors over there. I think it's super cool. And it's also really cool that they were able to revive it, because I didn't know that there would be more seasons of, When Hope Calls. Yeah. And I don't know. I like to be of the mind, the more content, the merrier. People really like this stuff. And I think that's cool. I deep down do think it's cool.
And also, most actors really do pull, like, there's there's this reputation of like actors are jealous of other people's work, but it's like a good earned jealousy of like, I want people to work. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, they did such a good job. I wish I had that part, but you're still.
But also like a very unique circumstance with Lori and with the show and with the network. There's so much about that makes it incredibly unique.
Oh yeah.
So it's good to know that the cast of Hope Valley, or the cast in Hope Valley, was looking at their phones the same way we were that day. Like, what are they gonna do with this?
What is happening? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's exactly
it was a surprise, but yeah, I don't know. And it's awesome for Lori. I think she's just so fantastic. And yeah, it's cool. It's kind of like the superhero universe. It's just expansive. It's so expansive, and you'll never. It's kind of cool. It's like, okay, and it can exist. It doesn't have to just be contained, right? Everyone can enjoy this content.
Dan always talks about how When Calls the Heart is like the superhero universe. He's always making that. He's actually working on a dissertation about it, and it's beautiful, by the way. So
my PhD in whatever field that would be. That's what I'm doing. So similar. We're still trying to figure out where Bill Avery fits in, but he'll get there somewhere.
Bill Avery. Oh, Bill. I can honestly say, though, as someone who's worked in the superhero universe, there are so many similarities between the Hardy fandom and
that is accurate.
That's accurate.
Yes.
There's stark differences between the people in those fandoms, I would say. But at the end of the day, there's so much. People feel so I don't want to say possessive because that sounds negative, but that's accurate. Yep. They're so they clutch onto these characters so tightly, and when things don't work out as expected, it's like and then they can go online and then find like-minded people to share their opinions with. I actually think that's super cool. But seeing it from two different sides, from two very different TV shows, has been interesting because I've learned a lot about fandoms.
I mean, as someone that grew up watching the original Star Wars trilogy, I can tell you unequivocally, Star Wars fans are the worst fans, but because they're great, they're loyal, but they just always want it their way. And it doesn't matter what's created. There is a group of them that's not happy. Either adheres too much to this expanded universe or not enough or blah, blah, blah. And I'm just over here, and I just loved like Han Solo and Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker as a kid. And I'm just like, why are we doing this? And so,
but I think that's why it's so jarring with the Hardys, because there's that same, I want it that way, but of a show that is just about happiness and joy and hope.
Yeah.
And so it feels so like jarring to me as somebody who watched the show and then go on and people are
I see
like trashing Chris McNally, and I'm just like, shove off.
Yeah,
like,
Chris is a great guy. We love him.
Relax.
He's so great. I
so great.
Yeah,
so great.
And we've had, I mean, like everybody we've talked to from the show has been wonderful.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. Is it rapid fire?
I think it's rapid fire time.
I love it.
You want to explain it, Dan?
Yeah, it's a rapid fire segment, Andrea, where we each ask you 3 questions alternating, and you have to answer. The rapid end is our end. You can take as long as you want to answer.
Okay, good.
They're not going to be pertaining probably to When Calls the Heart or any acting questions at all. It's whatever we'd like to ask. Brand, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, you know this, but Paul Greene has an album. I have it right here.
We have the CD right there.
You know it. Long Way Home. The CD.
I have that CD too.
Yeah. On it, he wrote for us, "Trust the Flow." What's track number 4?
Oh, I don't know.
Best
Friend, and I think it was written about you.
Yeah, Best Friend is the name of the track. Yeah. Aww. My question is, what's track 5? No, I'm just kidding. My first, the best meal in Los Angeles that you've ever had.
Ooh.
Oh, whoa. Back in the day, it was all about Katsuya. There was a cool restaurant called Katsuya. And I think I liked the experience. I was in my early 20s, and that was like the hot spot.
We met Chris Palaha at Katsuya when we flew out to do Home and Family.
Yes.
We met Chris Palaha there. We all ate together at Katsuya. It was wonderful.
Hated everything about it.
He hates company. Sushi. I thought it was delicious. So
I love sushi.
The time, the people, wonderful. Every other part of that evening,
it was so worst. Good. It's maybe the best sushi I've ever had. It was so great.
Except there's the soda with the thing. You got
soda pop.
What's a place in the world that you haven't been that you it's on the bucket list?
Oh, Greece.
Ooh.
Never been. It looks so beautiful.
Your dream director or writer to work for as an actor?
Oh, boy. Oh, woo. There's this really cool indie style filmmaker named Andrea Arnold.
Okay.
She did American Honey starring Shia LaBeouf. And
that's a really solid movie.
It is so solid. And I love the way she makes films. It's this kind of found footage. She just immerses herself in an environment. And I think she's a genius. So
I love it. I love it.
Good answer. This is my last one.
It's your last one, yes.
Because I did the Paul
Green. You wasted the Paul Green bit.
Trust the flow. Trust the flow.
Trust the flow.
Trust the flow.
Trust the flow.
What's your guilty pleasure TV show to watch right now?
Jersey Shore.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
You're just going back and watching it?
Snooki in the game.
I don't know. Okay.
The situation.
Gosh, I really tell you guys the truth. It's a little scary.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Who admits to Jersey Shore? Who
I don't know,
that?
But I couldn't pass up this opportunity. I love that show. I know they're continuing to shoot, and I think that's awesome. But no, the original Jersey Shore, it's so trashy and terrible.
12 years ago now?
A long time ago.
Yes.
14?
Yes, but it was of the moment. I was in college when that started airing, and everyone was like, Duck Phone, ha ha ha, Gym Tan Laundry. But I just think that their personalities are
GTL,
brilliant.
baby.
GTL. You get those, they're such characters. It was just reality TV, and it was done in a way, we will never get that again. Jersey Shore, as it existed in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, whatever it was, it will never be done again for so many reasons, and it shouldn't. But it was a blip in time, and I think that these characters are just fascinating. And true story, Marcus Rossner and I worked on a movie last spring, still hasn't come out yet, and he also likes Jersey Shore. I am outing you, Marcus.
Oh, if we ever have Marcus Rossner on the show.
You tell him. We watched the fight with Ron on the boardwalk like 6 times. We were shooting some really romantic scene, and then we'd go inside to this where we were hanging out, our little green room. And it was like, "Do you want to watch Jersey Shore? Do you want to watch that again?" And he laughs just as hard as me. I don't know if he was appeasing me, but I just think back to that movie. I'm like, we watched so much Jersey Shore, and we had so much fun. I don't know.
What is it? How do you watch? Is it on what?
Sure
Paramount Plus? Would that be what that is?
I think on the MTV website, you could watch it. And then through Canada, on our CTV picked it up. You can watch it online.
Great.
Love it.
Good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
I'm going to put you on the spot. I want an answer. In your mind, how many seasons do you think When Calls the Heart should go?
Wow.
Should go or will go?
Give me... I want to hear should, but I think will is a more fun question that doesn't get you in trouble. So let's do will. Like, how many seasons will it go? Because every year, Andrew, we do this bit where it's like Hardy's for season 9. We're all in for 10.
Yes.
Don't be stepping on 11. Like, what are we doing? Like,
that's a great hashtag.
I mean,
they should steal that.
I just like every year, and I feel like the network
go to hell if you cancel season 12.
That's right. Like,
keep going.
Yeah. Like
these are all
year,
good.
The network draws it out. Like we're not gonna. I don't know. It could be, but
who are we to say?
So like, when is the madness going to stop on either end? Like how many will it go? Call it.
Okay. I'll give you a number, and I have no idea why, but I'll say 13.
13. Okay. All right.
I'm just going to put my name on the board. 13.
That's right.
But right. I think I could see this. I don't know. I could honestly see this being a soap opera that could last generations should people choose, because you could bring in the next generation. The kids are all getting older now. It is about a town. You could shift the dynamic so easily. So I think that's a very real possibility that it could continue. It could be a Grey's Anatomy. I don't know. Or maybe it's worth ending when everyone feels like they're done and they're ready. I think
13's a great guess. I think 13's a great guess.
The real test will be if Aaron ever says, I'm done. Will the show continue?
Yes.
Because if it continues past Aaron, it can continue for eternity.
Right. Correct.
And it could also spin off too. You could take Opal, for instance, and she could go to a new town, and she could have some business venture when she gets older. And like, this could keep going.
But the problem is Opal has been 6 for a decade, and so I don't know at what point she'll be.
Well, I think we can all agree that once Robert takes over, that's when the show
when the show should go.
Robert,
you stop.
I like this. I like that idea.
Robert is the new hot Mountie.
He could be a Mountie. Oh, wouldn't that be cute though? If one of the little boys became a Mountie in training. There's so much you could do that I don't know. Nothing would surprise me, to be honest.
Fair enough.
I don't know, but I'm going with 13 because it's unlucky, and I don't know.
I love it, Andrea. You have been an absolute delight. Unbelievable.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Seriously, we really appreciate it.
The Evanescence vinyl is in the mail. It's on its way.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna clean my house and listen to Evanescence.
I love it. That's a good plan.
There you go.
Both songs, okay? both songs.
Both of them.
Songs.
On
All two of them.
repeat.
Yeah, that's right.
All
Exactly
day.
right.
I love it.
This is so much fun. We'll have you back soon. Until then, may we be the first to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Deck the Hallmark's a Bramble Jam podcast. It's presented by Philo TV. It's produced by Brandon Gray and recorded live in, Greenville, South Carolina. Set decor is by Plum at Haywood Mall. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on Bramble Jam Podcast Network, you can go to bramblejampodcast.com.